In this chapter, we're talking about the completed look. So we've put a lot of work in up to this point. We started with inspiration gathering and putting together a design direction. Then we moved on to floor plans and furniture arrangement. We worked from the ground up and started with the rug. Then we added in all of the furniture, lighting, and then finally styling and decor. So now it's real. Now we get to look around and see how each of these parts and pieces have come together. Now that we have a completed room, I'd like to use this as an example to go through the 5 principles of design and give you my designer's perspective on how a whole room comes together. So the 5 principles that I reference, and these are just filters, they're things I consider as I'm making decisions through the process. They are scale, balance, contrast, focus, and flow. So if you get stumped, if you don't know which way to go with a decision, reference back to these. They're considerations that can guide you towards a better decision. And this is how it breaks down in a room. Contrast is the visual difference between objects in a room. So in this space, that shows up with a dark coffee table on top of a lighter rug. Or it can mean the difference between styles of furniture. So a very warm leather sofa next to a really sleek and modern chair. Contrast also looks like a dark frame against a light-colored wall. It can also just be the contrast between textures. So a really plush, thick rug over top of a flat, low-profile flat weave rug. Without contrast in a space, things start to look monotonous. Everything just sort of bleeds together and you lose that excitement and interest. Next is scale, which simply refers to the size of an object in comparison to other objects in the space or maybe even the room as a whole. So in this space, the most obvious example would be this chandelier, which is really large and oversized. That scale creates drama and impact. I think scale can show up in other small ways too. So for instance, this large armchair over here needed a lamp that had a larger lamp shade. So that scale is complementary to the size of the chair. Scale is important in a room, just like the fit of your clothing is important to the outfit that you put together. Choosing the right size for things will make them feel like they belong, like they're the appropriate size, they're fitting of the space. Balance is simply the visual weight of things in a room and how they relate to one another. This mantle is a great place to point out balance. So, as you can see here, I have this large mirror, and that's really the main foundational piece of the mantle, but I balanced it by adding something with a darker frame and this really interesting organic shape. They're not the same size, but visually they feel balanced next to one another. Another example of balance could be a bookshelf. So over here, I have this bookcase, and as I styled it and put everything together, I was thinking about how the distribution of color and texture and sizes was balanced across all shelves, making sure that nothing feels too heavy on one side or the other. If you're a minimalist and you prefer fewer things in your space, balance is still an important thing to consider. You just may be balancing fewer objects at any given part of your room. Focus refers to where visual attention is placed in a room. So, simply put, it's where your eye goes first. It's the thing that catches your attention right as you walk into a space. I feel like in this room, a lot of the focus is on this coffee table. It's got this great intricate stone pattern on top. It's a deep, rich color, and it's in the very center of the room. I do think it's important to consider on the front end, as you're gathering things together, what's going to make the biggest statement in your room. Without that, you could end up in a space that has too many things going on. You're trying to get everyone's attention everywhere. Everything is sort of an ebb and flow of interest and attention. And now the 5th principle of design, which is flow. And that simply refers to how elements connect and reference one another across a space. So in this room, that looks like our brass aged metals that show up here on the shelf. They also show up across the room here with the pulls and hardware on the credenza. I also referenced this chrome metal frame by bringing it here to this side table. Color is a great place to create flow in a room. So adding greens, this side table, that pillow, the coffee table, all those things are connecting to and referencing one another. Things like organics, potted plants, vases with a branch or some floral in it, those things create connection across a room. Just once in a while, doing something similar on one side of the room and then again on another side of the room. I've worked with these enough that they're very instinctive to me. Sometimes I'm not even thinking about it. I make a decision and then I look back and I think, oh, that was contrast, or oh, I was thinking about scale then. You'll find the more you use these principles, they'll become second nature. Now that I'm at the end of this process, I'm imagining all of the different living rooms out there that you're creating, all sorts of different styles, unique and individual to you. I am so grateful that I was able to walk along this creative journey with you. Hopefully, I've given you some tools to go out and create a living room of your own that you love.